Welcome to EWA's FIN-LYT podcast. EWA is a fee-only RIA based out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We hope all listeners of this podcast will benefit as we deep dive into complex financial topics that we will make simplified for you. And we hope that this really serves as a catalyst so that you can make the best financial planning decisions for your family and also save time. Welcome, everybody. On today's episode on FIN-LYT by EWA, we are discussing a checklist for new parents. So joined here by Devin, seasoned veteran of the new parents, 3 kids. What are the ages?
14, 2, and 1.
Oh, you're living and breathing this. This is perfect.
Yeah.
All right, I'm just going to let you talk. So what do we do, Devin? No, I've got almost a 6-year-old, but yeah, really important. So figure this would be helpful. A lot of our clients have kids that are having kids, and so we wanted to create a resource that would be helpful for, there's a lot of financial implications with having a kid, as we know. I think it was 5 or 6 years ago, I basically said, you're basically going to spend about $250,000. And this is way more now, I'm sure, between when your kid's born and 18. This is like an average in America, and you're probably going to spend another $250,000 after for college, for weddings, for, some support that you want to give them. So, we're talking about $500,000. So large chunk of change, totally worth it. Kids are everything. That's my belief. But, it's purpose in life. To best set up your kid for success, there's a fine line between helping and enabling. And so there's a lot of stuff to do. There's a lot of stuff to set yourself up for success. Finances are one of the biggest stresses in America. So today's episode, we want to alleviate that financial stress and just really simplify this into, what are a few things you can do, big picture, to get the financial situation right with having a kid. So Devin, what's tip number 1 here?
Tip number 1 is the big C word again, communicate. Sit down with your partner, whether it's when you're trying, whether it's when you're pregnant or right when the baby's born, just sit down and have a conversation about how you see this going, right? How do you want to raise this baby or these babies? Everything from discipline styles to which religion do you want to raise them into? What are your thoughts on education, both primary, secondary, and college? Private versus public school. A big one these days, a huge one these days, is screen time. Do we want to get them phones? Because I think kids are asking for phones now at age 3. What time? How young was your daughter whenever she asked for one? Has she asked for one?
Oh,
yet?
A phone? No.
Yeah, not yet.
No, not yet.
Keep it away.
Yeah,
keep it away. Sports. What kind of sports? What schedule do we want? Just sit down and have that conversation.
Yes, I think a couple of the big things that we see, like mistake-wise, is that if you don't have these conversations up front, the average American moves like 9 or 10 times. So I was like advocating on a video of like why renting's better than owning, which I own a house, so I love owning a house.
I agree.
Actually, I hate it because it's like I hate the maintenance and stuff. But now that I've hired someone to do the most of that, I do love it. But the renting is just you can't argue with. It's a better financial choice. Like if you invest the difference, it's so much. If you move 9 times like the average American, you're going to avoid closing cost of like 30 or 40 grand every time. It's crazy. So the reason I say this is where you send your kid to school is so important, because if you don't philosophically agree on this up front and you move a couple times, that's going to be so costly just to get in the right school district. So having a public versus private, having a conversation, what kind of school district do we want to be in? I find this is super important. I think especially for the moms, not just in general. But I've been in this point probably, 20,000 financial planning meetings. So in general, that's super important for the moms. So having that conversation and having the decision of, maybe we rent until we figure this out and then we settle in that house. So we don't have all these transactional costs that we're wasting. And then I think religion, like you said, is really important because in some religion, you tithe 10%. Is that how we're going to raise? And that needs to factor in to the budget. And then as far as other financial concerns is what's the philosophy in college? Like, are we going to fully pay this? Are we going to be in the position to fully pay this, but maybe let them feel the skin in the game so they stay motivated? Are we going to have a flexible approach where we can wait and see if they turn out really motivated, regardless of whether we're going to pay it or not? Obviously, it's a huge blessing if you can pay for your kids' college because they're gonna be way ahead of the game if they're coming out of school without school loans. But what if they don't come out of college at all because you paid for it all and they don't have any motivation? So that goes back to the discipline style. So all of those I completely agree with. Huge implications in your financial plan having those conversations. So, okay, let's just go more basic now. So number 2, you put plan for higher living expenses and just adjust accordingly. So give us some examples and how big this can be in the budget.
Well, you kind of jumped off with it in the $500K number. Everybody's going to be different. I feel like I'm spending $500K per month on organic fruit these days, but
is that Whole Foods or what's?
It's everywhere. But the kids have a great diet. What can I say? I was surviving on Burger King and Steakums, and they're eating 5-star meals every day. But seriously, your expenses are going to jump, so just be ready for it. I got a list here, and the list is long, but some of the top ones: childcare, that's a huge one. We're talking 4 to 5 figures per month per kid.
Yeah. So what are we talking? Because I think back in the day, my daughter was like $1,300 a month for daycare. So per kid, is that still the number, or is it? Are we talking $1,500?
It depends on where you're living, right? I think that's
Yeah.
a big one. I think Pittsburgh's a fairly average city, so yeah. I mean, you could spend easily. It's going to be bare at the bottom is going to be about $1,500 a month is my guess. Upwards, I don't know if there is a top end of the range. It's probably $3,000 or something like that. Again, this is per kid per month.
Yeah.
If you have more than one kid, you get a bit of a discount, but it's not much. So plan accordingly. And these days, we typically see dual income households. So both parents are working, and so you're staring down the barrel of paying somebody to take care of your kid or kids during the day.
That's why my daughter, you see her on social media, she's here. I save that $1,300 a month. Just put her to work. So not only do I save $1,300 a month, it's free labor.
That's a win-win in my book.
Just kidding. Actually, side note, if you're a business owner, you can actually pay your kid for up to the standard deduction tax free. So that's like $14,000 something right now, tax free. So
yeah,
pretty cool. So she is on payroll, and she does the work through social media. You can do modeling. So it's a quick tip, side tip. We've actually done a podcast on that, but
is she a VP yet, or has she been
promoted? She's gonna be.
Okay, good.
She's my boss already. So geez.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, what else?
So to continue with childcare, daycare is one type of childcare. You could have nannies, au pairs, et cetera, et cetera. I think I don't know the numbers, but it's going to be costly, whichever route you go. And sometimes it makes sense for one of the spouses to stay home. It just does from a numbers perspective, but also from a parenthood psychological perspective. A lot of people aren't comfortable just dropping off their kids and having them spend the day with a stranger. So it's just something to kind of talk about and think about as you are entering the stage of being a parent. So childcare is a big one. Next one are just kind of the miscellaneous equipment and items that you're going to need as new parents: diapers, formula, clothes, furniture, car seats. These things are must-haves, and they can be pretty pricey. I mean, diapers and formula alone is, I don't know, in the hundreds to thousands per month. So just something to kind of keep in mind and put on the list as you are doing cash flow projections for the future. How is this going to affect our income and cash flow in the future?
Yeah, if you were to put a number on it, so like childcare, then just increased expenses and like diapers, formula, like clothes, all that kind of stuff. And then also college savings. I've got a number in my head. I promise I won't change it. What would your number monthly be for one kid in the Pittsburgh area? You say this is going to have this amount of effect on the cash flow. What would be your average? And then what would be your range? Because obviously if you're lower income, like you have to figure it out at a lower. And if you're higher income, it's probably going to be higher. But if you had to like just...
Yeah, I mean, some of these are fairly... It's not connected to your income, right? You've got to pay for childcare, regardless of where you're at. That's a tough, if not impossible, task. But I'd say roughly, pretty easy, $2,500 to $5,000 a month.
Yeah, I was gonna say $3,000 a month. Because I'm thinking $1,500 daycare, probably $500 of just like you have to feed the baby, you have to like diapers, that kind of stuff. You do cloth diapers. That's gross in my opinion, but no judgment to whoever does it.
No, it is. It is.
I think my brother did that. I definitely judged him. But anyways, and And then, 500 a month probably for college savings and 500 a month for miscellaneous. There we are, $3,000.
Yeah. I mean, that was right in my range. So, again, whatever the number is, just get ready for it, right?
Yeah.
As best as you can, calculate that number. But again, you're going to have to make some sacrifices, some way, shape, or form, and I think we'll get to that in a minute here. On top of that, sort of maybe the medium small sized items like diapers and car seats, very, very popular to spend more on larger things like a new home or a new car.
Becomes a justification process, or your spouse is beating you up.
Yeah.
This isn't safe. We need this 5-star crash rating. We need to be in a good school district. We need a playroom. The kid needs, basically a mansion before you know it. But it does become a huge justification process. So I would say make sure you're on the same page before the child is born with how to make it work. Because I've seen stages of people move. Oh, we grew out of this house. We grew out of this house. We grew out of this house. Well, if you had to make it work, you would. But let's plan for that up front. And then, with the childcare, at some point it becomes like if you have 2 or 3 kids, if one spouse is making 200, one spouse is making 75, let's say, like, does that spouse making 75, does it make more economic sense for that spouse at that point just to stay home? Mm-hmm. Maybe not. Does it make mental health sense? Maybe not. Maybe that person enjoys working. Maybe they want, so there's a lot of aspects to that. But from a financial planning standpoint, like being able to stress test your plan, what if we both continue to work? What if one of us stays home? How does that affect the college, the retirement, our day-to-day cash flow, our lifestyle? Are we going to be able to live a peaceful life, financially secure now, financially secure in the future, one that we don't have a lot of regrets? We minimize regrets. And stress testing and having a financial planner to work through those scenarios, I think, is super important. So, okay, this is a super important one now that kids are in the picture. So creating an estate plan, not just where assets are going, like will, revocable trust, direct beneficiary, we want to keep all those up to date. But with kids in the picture, it becomes even more important. Because what's the big thing you have to decide at this point if something happens to you?
Probably guardianship.
Yeah. 100%.
Which means what happens to your child or children if you and or your partner, the parents, pass, and you're deciding who they live with, who takes care of them.
No question.
Very, very difficult to think about, but these days it's very, very important.
Absolutely. The next one we'd recommend is definitely review insurance coverages. So review, most people think, life insurance. Like, review your disability insurance. Like, what happens if you don't have an income to support your family? Review life insurance. What happens if one of you pass? Do we have enough to replace the lifestyle? And work with a financial professional. Don't let your spouse say, "Oh, you'll be fine. They'll get remarried." Like, I've never heard stupider stuff come out of people's mouth when talking about life insurance, and I had 10 years of experience doing that in my prior place of before we started this REA. But you work with a professional, and they should just tell you what to do. It's very important to have the right amount of insurance in place, and as a newly married couple, just get a big term life insurance policy. It's going to be really cheap. Other considerations. So rapid fire, just some quick checklist, Devin. What else should we be thinking about here?
Yeah, so if you have a kind of a normal W-2 job, a lot of companies offer FSA options, which is a flexible spending account. You can put in money kind of pre-tax and get tax benefits by using those funds for things like childcare, daycare, for example. It's not a huge tax savings, but it's effectively free money if you fit that situation. So you might as well leverage that.
You have to use that year to year. So get it in, get it out. Because if you don't use it, you lose it.
It's not like an HSA, which is
basically a tax-free way up to a certain limit to fund childcare cost.
Exactly. So definitely set that up if you can, if you want to. I think that the key to a healthy financial lifestyle is having a buffer fund or an emergency fund. If you're newly married and the new parents, maybe that emergency fund is a bit too low. So think about and talk about if it is too low, if it needs beefed up. We have a child now, and we might need to increase that just to feel safe and secure. So talk about that. Again, if you have even if you don't have a kind of a normal W-2 job, you're going to be covered by a medical or health insurance plan. You have a baby now, so make sure you review that. Add the baby to the policy itself. It's a quick phone call. It's a quick log on to the portal, but just make sure that that's the case. And then maybe lastly is update your W-4, which is the form in your HR portal, just adding the proper tax situation and adding dependents, just to make sure, again, so that the withholding that's coming out each paycheck is the proper amount, not too high, not too low.
Absolutely. I'm trying to think of any rapid fire. Yeah, the other thing I would be a huge proponent of when your kids are old enough, I've already started this with my, she's turning 6 in October, but is financial literacy training. So not as parents talk about it, but you can never start too early with teaching your kids how money works. I remember I had like 3 little jars. One was I had to put away for for tithing. I grew up very religiously, but Dad's a pastor. So I'm trying to think if I ever used that for candy or something. I didn't. It was like I had to dump it. It was like all this change. I remember, but like, that they passed like the thing in the church.
Yeah.
I would dump it. It would just like interrupt the whole service because I would like do it like from this high. It's pretty funny. But yeah, it was like, I don't know, a couple $100 worth of like pennies and nickels.
Wow.
But it was a habit. It taught me like, here's how tithing works. And the second one was savings. If I want to go to Walmart and make buy like a Super Soaker 2000 or something. And then the third one was, maybe there's only 2. I can't remember.
No, it's saving, spending, and giving away. That's what you had. So
Yeah.
you saved some of it for yourself. But
I just realized I spent everything.
You just spent it all.
Yeah.
Okay, on Super Soakers.
Yeah. Sorry, parents. Sorry, Dad and Mom.
No, I mean, I think that we touched fairly high level on components of your financial life as new parents. I mean, there's entire careers baked into how to, be a great parent thoughtfully. But, I'll just throw it out there just to enjoy it. I mean, it's hard, changing diapers, you're up at night, you're trying to work, juggle a bunch of different things. And it's a lot different than when it was just the 2 of you, but enjoy it. And I think that, as financial professionals, we want to try to take that money anxiety away from new parents so that you can enjoy it.
No question.
Whether you hire one or not, the key is to just soak it all in because it goes by fast.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Thanks for joining us, everybody, and look forward to catching you next week. Thanks for tuning in to our podcast. Hopefully you found this helpful. Really hope this is as beneficial and impactful to as many people across the nation as possible. So hit the follow button. Make sure to rate the podcast, and please share with any friends or family members that would also find this beneficial. Thank you very much.